This
Manoj
conference will now be recorded.
and Shushma is there. At present, 4 people are there.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Shashank. So welcome to the training. So actually, I had asked Shiva to get some answers on some questions. Actually, I was late in sending those to Shiva. So maybe all of you can just give me a brief intro about yourself. Just the name and do you have any experience in coding in Python? If yes, then how much? And if no, and if you have any experience in coding in any other language, then it will be easier for me to understand your background and then you know how to give the training. So who will be starting? Anyone?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Shashank. Yeah, this is Anjanelu.
Hi.
Good morning. Actually, I'm working as an Oracle Apps Technical past 9 years. I don't have any idea about Python. Only thing is what I'm thinking. I'm planning to going forward. I'm planning to switch the technology. That's what I'm planning. Focus on machine learning. When I went to the Google videos and all, it's a basic thing is if you want to enter into machine learning, first thing you need prerequisite is a Python. So that's why I'm planning to learn Python. Firstly, after that I will enter into machine learning. Without that, if you enter into machine learning, I can't able to understand anything also. I don't have any background knowledge about Python. Only because of I know SQL, PL/SQL only. I don't know C, C++, Java, everything.
Okay. Okay.
This is my background.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next, anyone?
Hi, good morning. My name is Manoj Kumar. I have no experience in Python. I have only experience in Java, core Java.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, Manoj. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey Shashank, good morning. This is Sushma. So
Hi.
hi. So I have 8 years experience in manual testing. So I do not have any experience on any of the coding languages. So I'm planning to shift into some automation testing. So I've seen like I wanted to learn Python so that it could help me for any of the automation testing. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, who else? Only 3 people?
Bhaskar, can you introduce?
Hi, Shashank.
Hi, Bhaskar.
Yeah, hi, this is Bhaskar. I'm working on storage domain. Currently, I'm planning to switch my technology into DevOps. So Python is more important to learn DevOps. So I'm planning to learn on Python.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so Shiva, can we start now? Or
You can
still waiting?
start, sir. You can start. You can start.
Okay. So welcome to the training, guys. I hope you all are doing good during the times of COVID-19 and taking care of yourself. So as we all know that we are here for a demo training on Python. The demo would cover some very elementary concepts of the language, which would also include some coding. So any questions which you have, you can ask at that point of time, or even later you can ask the questions, and you can ask the questions later if you want. So okay, I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know when you can see it. So you all can see my screen, right?
Yes, we are able to see.
Okay. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, who created Python? When was it created? What are the domains? How much is the popularity? So there was a developer, or there is a developer, Guido Wendelson, who was the creator of Python. He was working on a language ABC, and he wanted to take some concepts of a language and create a high-level language which would have very less, which would prototype any model with very less lines of code. So keeping that purpose in mind, he created Python. He created the language in 1991. And talking about domains, so as you all know that like you also said that you people are coming from different backgrounds, but all want to learn Python. So the reason is that Python is a language which is being used in quite a lot of domains, like starting from the basic scripting to automation, to web development, to cloud development, to machine learning, natural language processing. So there are quite a lot of domains in which this language is being used. So hence the popularity of the language is also quite a lot. And for the last 2 or 3 years, it has been one of the fastest growing language in the world. So the features, so it's a object oriented language. Object oriented as in it has the concept of class, object. It has a concept of inheritance, object overloading, object overriding, then less number of LOCs. What does this mean? So this means that if you are writing any code, if you're writing a code to solve any problem, so generally Python would take very less number of lines of code compared to any other language as C, C++ or Java or any other language per se. So this we will see later in the demo, and maybe if the training will be there, then yes, you will be able to see that how much less lines of codes are needed to solve any issue, any problem. Then again, platform support, so it supports Windows as well as Linux systems. So talking about Linux, it supports all the versions, all the flavors of Linux, whether it is Ubuntu, whether it is CentOS, or any other, maybe Red Hat. Yeah, so it supports all the features, all the platforms. Prototyping. So prototyping is something where you create a small POC, a proof of concept, to demonstrate that okay, this problem can be solved. So Python is a very so Python is a language which you can use to create your prototype because it takes less time, less number of lines of codes. So it is quite a good language to do prototyping for any POC. The next one is open source. So it's an open source language. It is not owned by any corporation so it's not like C#, which is owned by Microsoft or anything. So it's an open source language. So there are a lot of contributors, and therefore it is also one of the reason of it's being quite popular. So as it is an open source language, so the community support is also quite a lot. You will never have any problem which you will search on the internet regarding Python and you won't be getting support. So it would not be the case in any of the scenario. Large number of libraries. So as I just spoke about the domain, so there are a lot of domains in cloud, in automation, in web. So therefore the libraries which you can use in Python are a lot. And for each and every domain, you will get a library. You don't have to create the one from scratch. So mostly all the functions, all the features of any library you can use, and you can create your own program. You can create your own project. Readable in the sense that the language is quite simple. Even if you know just English language, so even and then you read the basic Python code. I'm not talking about the complex code, but if you read the basic Python code, you will know that okay, this code might be doing this, this code might be doing that, and why is this line written here, and what this particular piece of code is doing. So it's quite simple. It's not as typical as C or C++. If you must have worked on that language in college maybe, or read it somewhere, or maybe even if I talk about Java, then also it's quite simpler than Java. So yes, so it is used for automation development, web development, cloud development, which I already spoke. So this is just a small graph which deals with the popularity of the language Python. So if you can see this red line here, so you'll be able to see that how much is the growth of the Python as a language. So actually this is the graph showing the number of questions which are asked on Stack Overflow. So as you can see that the number of questions in Python are which are asked are quite a lot, and it's getting increased every year as compared to other languages like C++ or PHP or C# or Java and JavaScript. So JavaScript is also one of the most popular language, and Python is even competing with JavaScript quite a lot. So this graph was taken from stackoverflow.com. So the syntax. So Python. So first of all, Python uses indentations. So people coming from Java background or might be knowing some C or C++. So every time you write a function or you write a class or anything, then you have to write curly braces to show the scope of the code which would be coming under that function or under that loop. So even if you're not getting my point right now, I will definitely cover it later. So just hear me out for now. So if you are writing, I mean this was for for people who are not coming from programming background. So otherwise, people who would be knowing Java, C++ or any other language would know that you have to use curly braces to define the scope of the code. But here in Python, we do not use curly braces. We use 4 spaces indentation, just a tab or 4 spaces to define the scope. Comments. So yes, we do have comments in the language. If you want to comment any code, if you want to write any comments for a particular line of code, what is code does and all. So yes, you can write your comments. Then docstrings. So docstring is particularly anything which describes what a certain piece of function is doing, or what a certain piece of code is doing. Here you can write what the function is, and what does the function expects as an input, what processing does, and what exactly it outputs to a particular user. Then main function. So main function is something which I think most of the languages have, but in Python it's not necessary to have a main function. What a main function is exactly? So it is an entry point for any compiler or for any interpreter. So whenever you run your program, the compiler checks that where is the main function, and it starts from the main function, the code flow. But in Python, we do not need the main function. It's not required. As Python is an interpreted language, so the interpreter would just start from the very first line, and it will start executing. It does not look for the main function. So talking about editor interpreters, so any language which you code on, you require some IDE, the integrated development environment, or some editor to write your code. Like if you write some text, then you need this Notepad or Notepad++. So just like this Notepad, we have some editors in Python which you can use to write your code. So first we have the Windows command prompt. So you can just install Python on your system, then you can just run the command prompt on Windows or the terminal or Linux, and you can just write Python, and your interpreter would open, and then you can write the Python code. So we will see here later. Another one is Ideally. So Ideally is also an editor provided by Python itself, by the Python community itself. That also you can use. Then you can use PyCharm. PyCharm is an extensive tool which is focused towards Python development. Then Eclipse. Some of you have used Eclipse. So we can also use Eclipse for Python development. There is a plugin PyDev which you can install, and then you can use Eclipse. Then other tools are also there if you do not want to use these in any case. Okay, so till here, do you have any questions? Anyone? And let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow.
Good session.
Okay. Okay, so writing a very simple line of code. So here I will be writing just a one line of code, and I'll be running that code, and you will be seeing that how it functions, how the code is executed, what is the output. So here, if you see, okay, just let me pause this. So this, the whole screen. So this is an editor. This is an IDE which I was talking about. So this is PyCharm. PyCharm is the name of this IDE. You can also download it. You can also install it on your system, and you can write your Python programs. So here we can see that we have a file program.py. It's an empty file now. So I'll be writing a line of code here, and then it will get executed. Okay. I can just start by writing print statement. So print is something which outputs anything which you passes it. So I'm just writing hello all. I will save it, and then I'll go to run, and then I run the program. So here you can see that it has printed hello all, and another message process finish with exit code 0. So with exit code 0, that means that there was no error. If the code was not 0, if the code was something else, then this would mean that there was some error and the termination was not a successful one. The program terminated abruptly or because of some error. So one more thing here. Previously, if you can see in the video, I have used this double quotes. So if whatever you want to print, you can print in double quotes here in Python. But again, you can also use single quotes. So double quotes and single quotes are just the same. You can use any of the quotes to print your string. So you can also clear your console if you want to run the program again. So instead of double quotes, I'll be writing a single quotes. And then again, I would run the program, and it will give me the same message. Okay, any questions on this one? Okay. Next. Okay. So declaring and defining variables. So every programming language has variables. So variables are something which are meant to store some value. And the value could come from the user, or the value you can also define in your code. But these are known variables. Why? Because the values of these variables can change at any point of time, maybe because of some user interruption, or maybe because of the coding interruption. So there are two things. So in any language, you have to first declare the kind of variable which you want to have, and then you have to define. That means you have to write the value of the variable. What should be the value of the variable? So it is known as the defining of the variable. So suppose if you want to declare an integer type of variable, int, then like in most of the languages, you write something like int, then the name of the variable, and then you write the value of the variable. But in Python, we don't have that concept. So let us see how it is done. So again, we have this interpreter or the IDE. So as I said that in most of the programming languages, we have the type int or str or float, but in Python we don't have that. So we can just write this variable name and give the value as 10. So Python would automatically know that, okay, the variable with the name length is of type integer, and I have to store it like that, and I have to treat it like that. So here you don't have to write int or float or anything like that. You can directly write your variable name, and you can directly define your define the value to the variable. Similarly, there is also a keyword float. So all of you guys know keywords. If you don't, then let me just pause the video and tell you. So keywords are something which are reserved words in a language. So by reserved words, I mean that you can't use those words in your program, or it might result in some error. So keywords are basically which are already reserved for a language. So suppose if you can see the color of the float is changed, it's purple color. So that tells us that it's a keyword. So you can't use it as a variable name. You can use it in a program, of course. Of course, these are made for doing those only, but you can't use these words as a variable. So you can use float or int to check that if a value is of type float or of type int, but you can't have your variable name with the same name as this one. So again, if I would be writing float length, so this would also be not be the correct way. So Python would give me the error, as you can see the red line here. So I will just write length is equals to 10.5, and Python would understand it. Okay, length is a type of a float variable. So int and float, you guys know the difference, right? Int is where you don't have a decimal value, and float is where you have a decimal value. So similar is the case of in string. You can just have your variable, and you can just define the value of the variable in double quotes or single quotes, and Python would understand that, okay, it is a string variable. If I would write str, so str also again is a keyword. You can use it, but you do not need to write str name equal to John. So if you would be working in C++, then you would be writing something like str name equal to John, but in Python you don't require it. As you can see that it is giving you an error that it is an invalid syntax. It would also give you the error in case of integer. So I remove int keyword, and then I just wrote value equal to 10, and then I'm printing the value. And if I'll be running the program, I'll see 10 as output here. Okay. So what we just saw is that we took a variable and we just assign it any value of our own. But in most of the cases, or in some of the cases, there is a scenario where we need to take the input from user. So taking input from the user, we have a function with the name input. So we can use that function to take the input from a user and store that input to a particular variable. So we write input here, and whatever value and whatever we will write inside of input here. So this message will be popped up to the user or on the screen, so that the user would know that, okay, what I have to do. When I run my program, I'll see here that I have got a message, enter a value below. I entered a value 10, and I press enter, and it said that, okay, the process finished with code exit code seal. And again, if I want to check what is the value which the user has entered, or if I want to show that particular value to the user, I can print that value again and I will run the program. So again, I'll get a prompt, enter a value, I will enter 20, and then I'll get the output as 20 because I have used print here. Okay. Same way you can, you can have the user input any value, any long message. There is no limit. A multiple number of values also you can ask the user to execute to enter, and then you can do any operations on those values. So next is manipulation and operations on variables. So on variables, you can do a lot of things. You can play around. So the whole concept of programming is is working on variables. Okay, so let us start simple program. So here I wrote age equal to 10. So this means that age is a kind of int variable. Python would automatically understand that. I'm printing the age. Then I'm doing age equal to age plus 1. That means I'm incrementing the value of age by 1. Then I'm printing the same. Then I'll run the program and I get 10 and 11. 10 because I have printed the age, then I have incremented age by 1, and then I've again printed the age, so that's why I got 11. So one more thing, whenever you run a Python program, it starts from running the top. So it's not like that it would look for a main function or anything. So it would start from the very first line. It's as simple as that. So previously what I did is age equal to age plus 1. So instead of that, you can also write age plus equal to 1. So age equal to age plus 1 or age plus equal to 1 are both the same thing. So again, it will give me the same value, 10 and 11. So just like addition, you can also do subtraction or multiplication or division, as you will see here. So our length is 10, width is 20. So the area would be length into width. So it would be 200. Yeah, so as you can see that I have just used length, width, and I have just put a multiplication operator in between. So the area, the value of area would be stored as 10 into 20, that would be 200, and I am printing that variable, and so I'm getting the result as 200. Now that I'm printing the area, maybe the user after seeing this 200 might not know that what does it mean, what are you trying to print. So we can just add a small message here that area is, and then space, and then a comma, and then the name of the variable. So you can join, or maybe you can concatenate multiple number of variables. So here we have concatenated a string, that is a hard-coded string, with the variable area. So when I run this program, I'll get area is 200. So it's like just making it more clear, making it more readable to the user. So just like what we did with the integer variables, we can do the same with the string variables as well. So I have created a name and surname. So the value of the name is John and the value of surname is Sinha. And when I'm printing this name plus surname, so I'll get John Sinha. So as you can see that we have variable name and then another variable surname, and we have printed name plus surname. So it will be printing John Sinha. Then of course we would want a space between the name and the surname. So we will just concatenate and a space string in between the name and surname, and then again we will run the program and it will show us John Sinha. Then if we want the user to input the name and surname by himself or herself, then also we can do the same. As you can see that we have used the function input and we are passing a message to the user to enter a name. Then again we are using this function input and we are again passing a message, please enter surname. So the name would be stored in this and the surname would be stored in the surname variable. I'll again run the program. I'll get a prompt here, please enter a name. I'll enter a name. I'll enter surname and then I'll get a message. So this is how we can, we can manipulate the variables. We can do any kind of functions, any kind of operations on those to make it a more readable message, a readable message. I've just added hello, and now I'm seeing the message, hello Johnson. Okay. So as I told you that we can also have comments in the code, and I've also demonstrated the same as well in the previous program. So I'll just show you how we can write the comments again. So suppose this is our first line. This is our second line. And if there's some piece of code which is written, but I don't want to get that code executed, then I can always comment that piece of code. So the Python would know that it does not have to execute that piece of code. So I'll put a hash. So using hash, you can comment your code in Python. So when I have used hash, so that means Python would not execute this line. So like whatever you write here, maybe it's Python code or it's Java code or it's any English language or any Hindi language, it won't execute it. So I've commented it and then I'll run it.
Hello. Hello, Shiv. I think we lost the connection.
Just a minute, sir. I'm calling him.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Okay. So we saw the how to write the comments. So sorry for this, guys. Actually, the electricity got cut off. So yeah. Okay. So I hope you saw how to write the comments. Then, so our next topic is data structures type. So every language has some kind of data structures. Basically, you can say the type of variables which you can define, or how to how to categorize some variables in what kind of data structures. So just like that, we have the same in Python as well. So for numbers, we have int type, we have float type, we have complex type. Integer is something which does not have a decimal. Float is something which have a decimal value. Then complex is something which have iota numbers as well. So this is just a small theory. We can always see that in practical later. So as we have numbers, we have strings. So string data structure are the ones where we store some character, a single character or more than a single character. Then we have list, array. So you must have heard the term array. So array is nothing but a collection of integers or float or characters. So array is basically a collection of similar kind of variables, you can say. So it can be a collection of integers like 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be a collection of float like 1.1, 2.2, 3.3, or it can be a collection of strings. So the strings could be names or anything. And then we have dictionary. Dictionaries are key value pairs. So okay, so we will get to dictionary later in the code, so it would be easier to understand. Then we have tuple. Tuple is also something just like a list, but it is different in a way that it cannot be changed once it is defined. So it's just like having a constant variable where you once define the value of a variable, but later you cannot change it. So yes, we will see it in the code. Okay, so let me just open the code editor. Okay, so I did not get the time to make the videos for this. So okay, so just as I was saying that we have the types of data structures. So if you want to have in data structure, we can just write any named variable and 10, and this would be type int. Again, if I want to have a float variable, I can write 10.5, and this will be my float variable. For the string, as we have already seen, I can input anything and it will be the value of my string. So I will tell you about list or arrays. So as I told you that list, so array is nothing but a collection of same kind of variables or same kind of values. So we can define a list the same way we define integer or string or float data type. So we can just write here any name. I will give it my list is equals to, and inside the square brackets I will write 1, 2, 3. It's not required to give any space between 1, 2 between comma and next name, but I mean it's some of the coding guidelines which we follow in Python. So you can also write it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I will print my list, I'll see this 1, 2, 3. So it's the one. So it's one variable with the name of list. So, but you have multiple elements in the same variable. Then there is another data structure which is tuple. So tuple is also same as list, but the difference is, I'll show you the difference. First of all, it is defined not with the square brackets, but with the round brackets. Again, as with the program, I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4. The same thing happened with my list. Let me define it once again. So, but when I will change my list, so what I'm doing is my list of 0. That means the 0th element on the list. So here is my list, and the element, the counting of the element is start from 0. So the 0th element is 1, the first element is 2, the third element is 3, and the fourth element is 4. So the second element is 3, and the third element is 4. Just not to make it more confusing. Yeah. So here in my list, the 0th element is 100, first element is 200, second element is 300, and third element is 400. So if I want to change my first element, I can just write my list, then the index is 0. So whatever number would be there on the 0th index, so its value should be changed to maybe 50. And then I will print my list again. Let me just comment it out. I'll run the program. So as you can see, first it printed 100, 200, 300, 400. But when I changed the 0th element of the list, so the 100 got changed to 50, and then it got printed as 50, 200, 300, 400. So this is what you can do in a list, but in a tuple, you cannot do this thing. So a tuple is created so that, by accidentally, or by, like, if there is any exchange between the values between multiple functions, so the values of the array might not get changed by mistake. So that is why we have tuple. So if I will write my tuple of 0 equal to 100, so this will give me error. So here you can see the error message. Tuple object does not support item assignment. That means you cannot change the value of this variable once you have defined it. So if I wanted it 100, I could have written it 100 here, and then it would be fine. But later on, once I've defined my tuple, I cannot change it. So this is the difference between a list and a tuple. Then there is another data structure dictionary, which I think I would not cover right now, because there could be again this issue of electricity. If we have time later, we can cover it later. So just a last part is remaining. So looping is something where we have some kind of statements, and we want to run those statements again and again. In that scenario, we use looping. Or if we have any condition, suppose we have two pieces of code, but we do not want to run the complete code. Now, both the pieces of code, we want to run a piece of code based on a condition. So suppose if we are having an application which takes the age of the user. So if the age of the user is greater than 60, then we want to run some another piece of code. And if the age of the user is less than 60, then we want to run some another piece of code. So at that point of time, we use if else. So in if, we can give the condition that if the age is less than 60, then run these statements. And if the else, if the age of the user is greater than 60, then run that piece of code, then run another piece of code. So same thing, we have while loop, for loop. So while and for are kind of keywords which we use to write our loops. So loops, as I told you, is nothing but if we want to run some piece of line, some code again and again, then we use while and for loops. Okay, have some time, I can show you how the loops work. So first of all, let me show you the if else. How do we use if else statement? Okay, so let's take an example. Age is equals to 60. I'll print if age is greater than 60. Senior citizen. Else young citizen. Okay. So as you see that I have defined age as 60. So or maybe I will make it 61. Yeah. So if the age is greater than 60, it will print senior citizen, and if age is less than 60, it will print young citizen. So same way, if we have okay, so let me run the code. So as you can see here in the output, we see senior citizen. So it's just a very simple, very plain example. But while doing our coding, we might run into many scenarios where we want to execute some piece of code based on some condition. So at that point of time, we use if and else. Then I was talking about while loop, for loop. Okay, so we have a statement where we are printing this. Let me run this. So you can see we have got star. So now we want to print this statement multiple times. One option is that I can write print multiple times, and then I can run it, and you can see here star 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 star. Another option is that. So maybe you can, if you want to execute just 3 or 4 times, it's fine. You can write it again and again. But what if you want to, execute just like thousands of times? So for that, I can use for. Let me tell you first. While any number means num is until this number is less than 50, then I have to put a colon. So any if, else, or for loop or while, we put a column. So yes, we will cover it later in detail. This is just a demo. So I'm not covering each and everything, every minute details. So I'm writing while this number is less than 50. So what is num? First I have to define num. Num is equals to 1. Okay, so start from 1. Or maybe start from 0 or start from 1. Okay, it's fine. So while until this number is less than 50, you have to print this again and again. Then I will write num is equals to num plus 1. So first of all, one thing that I was talking about in the starting, that we do not use curly braces. So in most of the languages, we use this curly braces to show that this piece of code, this print and num equal to num plus 1, comes under the while loop. But here in Python, we do not use curly braces. We use indentation. So if I'll write anything here with the same indent as while loop, so this statement would not be considered inside the while loop. If I have to say that these two statements comes under the while loop, I would have to give a tab or a space of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means that these two statements would come under this while loop. Similarly, if I would have another while loop, then again I would have to give my statements here, just to let Python know that whatever I'm writing below this under while after 4 spaces, so these statements come under the while loop. Okay, so let me run this. So as you can see that now my program has printed this num around 50 times. Not exactly 50, it's 49, because it will execute until the condition is less than 50. So whenever it's 49, it will print till 49. And when the value of number would be 50, it won't go inside the loop and it will just exit. So this is why we use while. So this is why we use looping. So the same thing we can also do with for number in. So in for you have to pass range, an array you can say. So in Python we have a function range which generates you an array. So if I give, so this range function takes inputs. So the first input is from where you have to start the array, and the second is input is from where you have to exit till when you have to create the numbers. So I have given this here 1 to 50. So it means it will create an array from starting from 1, and it will run up to 49. So 50 is not included. So this just means that I will be running this loops around 49 times from 1 to 49. So I don't have to give this num equal to 1 here. I can just give it like this. I also don't have to increment the value of num. So when I will run it again, I will get star 49 times. So you might be thinking that like what is range, or why do I be using colon, and some terms you might not be aware. But yes, we will be later covering that in the training in deep. So the mission was just to explain you that we have looping also in Python, and why do we use looping. Yeah, so I think that was the last topic. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions from Python? Any questions from demo? Any code or any syntax related questions? Hello. Shiva, can you hear me? Hello, Shiva.
Yes, Shashank. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, so I can hear
Yes,
you.
sir.
So if anyone have any question, you can ask.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah,
Shashank,
you're
we are
audible.
good, Shashank, up to now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Okay. Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Have a good day.